Greetings, students. Thanks so much for tuning in to watch this video. I hope to keep it pretty quick and pretty short, actually. So why am I recording this video? I have started recording a video for all of the incoming students as they come in because it's difficult to kind of navigate the handbook, how to schedule classes, how to register, what's restricted, what's not, what counts, it's a lot to navigate. So instead of having like a 45-minute to hour-long conversation with every student that comes into the program, I've recorded a video to go over that. I've gotten a lot of tremendous feedback. It seems to be really helpful. And so this semester, as we approach the registration time, I wanted to record another video for the current students, just to remind you of some things, because every year around this time, it's the busiest part of my year and I get overloaded, and I'm trying to reduce some of that, right? This is by far the most stressful 4 weeks of my year when it comes time for fall registration. And so I'm recording this video because I'm kind of envisioning there are going to be kind of 3 categories of students coming up. The first category, and I hope this is most of you, know the program, know what's required, know what's going on. You can watch this video, remind yourself of a couple of key points, right? And then register yourself, because you know what you need to do, you know where you need to go. This will serve as a reminder for some of those things, and then you can register yourself. Because again, after your first semester, I've lifted the advising hold, and unless there's a financial hold or an immunization hold on your account, you can register yourself. So that's the first category. Students that'll watch this video and say, great, I know what's going on. They'll go on and register at their appointed time, and we're good. The second category of students are students that watch this video and say, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but I have a couple of questions about these things. So if you have those small questions, please send those to me via email, right? If you send me an email, give me a couple of days, 24 to 48 hours, to look into it and get your response, right? That will save a lot of time for me. The third category of students are students that watch the video, maybe sent me an email, didn't get the clarity that they were looking for, or have some sort of super big issue, right? Like you need to take temporary leave, you need medical leave. You are going, you're going down to part-time next semester, or you're going up to full-time, or anything that's a serious big issue. That's when I'd like you to make an appointment with me, right? So in the past, I've kind of had students make appointments with me no matter what, and that's not going to work. When I started in this position, we had about 80 students. Now we have over 160. So there's twice as many when I started. When I started, my predecessor was not very good at contacting students, so it was very important when I came in to make sure I had regular contact with everybody. We fixed a lot of those issues. I have regular contact with most of you, and you know that I'm accessible to you if you have questions, right? So instead of making everybody come to me, talking to you all one-on-one, which again, just blows up my schedule for an entire month and turns me into a pretty mean, nasty guy when I get home, I'm going to try and reduce that this year. And I'm going to ask you, please, to be mindful of my time, right? And think about, can you register yourself? Can you answer your own questions? Register yourself. Can you send me an email with a couple of quick questions, and then I can get back to you pretty quickly within a day or two with the answers to that? Or is this something that you really need to talk to me one-on-one? And if that's the case, then I recommend making an appointment with me. So that's why I'm making this video, is to kind of cut down on the number of student requests, especially because we have probably one of the largest incoming classes ever starting in the fall. And so I've got to register all of those students right after we get done with current students. And so again, I'm trying to kind of reduce my workload a little bit because they haven't hired somebody to help me, right? Even though we have twice as many, there's not another person to do the other half of the job. So thank you for being mindful, and I appreciate you doing that. Okay, a couple of things. The summer and fall schedule is going to be released at the same time on the 28th of February. So that's coming up very soon. That schedule will be released. And then about 3 weeks later in March, it's not the week after spring break, but 2 weeks after spring break, that Monday. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. I want to make sure I get you the right date. Oh, here, I've got a calendar behind me. The 20th and the 21st. So you should all be assigned dates on Eagle Service either now or early next week that will say, here's your date and time to register. So if you go on Eagle Service, it'll say, what is it, Monday, the March 20th at 4 p.m. That's your time. So that means that at that time, starting at that time, you can start to register. So you have to wait until that window opens to begin registering, but anytime after that, you're free to register yourself. I recommend that you shoot for that time or as close to it as possible, because you're assigned a time based on where you're at in the program. So if you're in your last semester, you've got one of the earliest times so that you can get the classes you need. Whereas if this is only your second semester, you're going to be one of the last current students to register. Now, all new students are going to register like 3 weeks after current students. So we don't have to worry about any of the new students taking up spots in the classes, which makes sense, right? Because they're brand new to the program. If they can't take it this semester, they can take it again in the future or something. But for you as current students, definitely get in and register as close to your registration time as possible so you can guarantee your spots in the class, right? Undergraduate students are going to register on the 22nd, which is Wednesday. So it's only 2 days after, one or 2 days after you've registered. So if you wait too long, a lot of our classes are 400, 600 level. If you wait too long, right, there might be 10 spots in it on Tuesday. And then when the undergrads go to register on Wednesday, it's full. Right? So make sure you get in on that Monday or Tuesday slot as close to that time as you can and get in and register. One other quick reminder about registration stuff. It's a 2-stage process, right? So you look up a class, and we'll go over this in just a little bit, but you look up a class, you add it to your schedule, right? And then that's like your course plan. You can have 15 courses on there or whatever, right? But you're not registered for any of them until you click the blue register button. So there should be a big blue one up in the right-hand corner to register for all classes. Or if you switch over from list mode to calendar mode on the other side, there should be a button under each individual class to register. So if you have like 12 classes, but you don't want to register for all of them, you go over to the calendar mode and click register for the ones you do want to register. And you know you're registered because it'll have a green check mark right below it. Have the name of the class right below a green check mark, and it'll say registered but not started, right? So if it says that, you're good. If it doesn't say that, something went wrong, right? Either you don't have permission to register for the class, or there's a hold on your account, or there's something going on. But if it doesn't have a green check mark and say registered but not started, you're not in the class. So again, keep in mind, it's a 2-stage process. Just adding a class to your schedule, your course plan, is not registering for it, right? You have to push that blue button. So, okay, so now that we've covered some of that, I'll wrap back around to that towards the end of the video when I talk about looking through the scheduled classes. But for right now, I wanted to cover a couple of questions that come up regularly about the handbook. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I have the handbook pulled up. So this is the 2021-2022 JLC THSP handbook. I just pulled up so you can see the cover, because the cover for this year's is different from the cover. So if you have a different cover than this, you're using the wrong handbook. And we're revamping this right now. So a new one's going to be available starting probably this summer, like July 1st. There'll be a 2022-2023 book. But for now, for this registration period, this is what's going to govern the requirements. Okay. All right. So if you scroll down, really what's important to us are these pages down here. So page 3 and 4 for JLC, and page 5 and 6 for THSP, right? So in both degree programs, you basically have at the top foundational requirements, the research, practicum, and then here you have 4 core courses and then 2 electives for JLC. And then for THSP, you have the same foundation, research, practicum, but then you have 2 interdisciplinary and 4 electives required. Okay, so the structure of the degrees is a little bit different, but both require the same amount. Everybody's got to take a practicum. Everybody's got to take 680 and 681. You should have already taken 680. If you haven't, you should take it this spring. And if you've taken 680, but you haven't taken 681, or I'm sorry, this fall. And if you've taken 680, but you haven't taken 681, you should take that this fall, right? So they should be taken as closely together as possible, and they should be taken early on. Okay, so there's that. Now, the questions I get a lot are, well, what if I take crim theory, but I've already have my 2 foundational requirements finished? Well, crim theory is then going to become an elective, right? So 4 elective courses that can be any graduate level course within the JLC department, or selected from the list of interdisciplinary courses above. So you can see any graduate level course within the JLC department counts as an elective for THSP. And any 2 electives that can be any graduate level course within the JLC department or from the following list. So in both programs, your electives can be any JLC grad class. So that includes all of these foundationals, because those are all JLC graduate level courses. So if you take legal theory, concept of justice, and crim theory, 2 of those are foundations, 1 of them is an elective or a core course, right? Depends. The most important thing here is that if you, any of these courses that are up here higher on the list will also count down here on the lower end. Now the electives can't count as foundationals, right? It doesn't work the other way. But if you, any course that's on the list at the top will count down here at the bottom. So if you take a core course, if you take 5 of these core courses, 4 of them are going to count as a core, and the 5th one's going to count as an elective. Okay, so there's a lot of flexibility with those elective courses. And same thing down here in THSP, right? There's a lot of things that can count here. Here's the little asterisk. Any course that counts as a foundational or interdisciplinary course will also count as elective, right? So I try to make that even clear in the handbook. But again, any graduate level JLC course within the department will count as an elective, right? Then interdisciplinary courses or core courses, right, for JLC, there's a list that counts, right? 2 interdisciplinary courses. Interdisciplinary has to be outside the department. So you'll notice all of these classes are non-JLC courses. So for THSP, for the terrorism degree, you have to take 2 classes outside the department. For JLC, we don't require that, but we recommend it. So your 2 elective classes, right, we recommend that you take outside the department, but you don't have to for JLC, whereas THSP you do. All right, so we have a lot of options here. We have a lot of options for the core courses up above. Let's say you really want to take a different class that's not on this list, right? We have this course substitution procedure, right, which is the same for both JLC and THSP. It's listed here on top of page 4 for JLC, and it's listed here top of page 6 for THSP. But basically, if a course is not listed under one of these requirements, you can request that it count for that category, right? And the process is delineated right here. All right, basically send me an email. There's information I need. It says graduate advisor asking for a course substitution with the course name, description from the AU scheduled classes, and 2 to 3 sentences about why it's going to be useful to your academic or professional pursuits. So you send that message to the graduate advisor. The advisor pops that up to the program director for approval. The program director reviews it, and then they will let you know within 1 to 3 business days if that class can count. So you can request like a certain class count as a foundation if you need to, right? You can request that an SIS course that's not on this list here count as an interdisciplinary. You could request a comms class to count as an interdisciplinary. You could request a history class to count an additional, there's already one on here, but you could request that another history class count as an elective, right? But my point is there's a procedure for that, right? So you follow this course substitution procedure. And again, the name of the game here is flexibility within reason, right? We understand that the world is changing, and it's not our job to fit you all in one box. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We trust you to think critically about where you're going professionally and to know what kind of classes, or have an idea of what kind of classes are going to be helpful in that pursuit. And if it's not on the list, we've made ways for it to count towards your degree, right? To be flexible within reason. Now you can request underwater basket weaving or modern interpretive dance, but they're not going to count because that's outside of the realm of reasonability, right? So flexible within reason. That's the policy for both degree programs, both now and moving forward. All right. So now that we've gone over a couple of things here, I would want to remind you that the Eagle service, which is where you go to look, when you click on my progress on Eagle service, it's a mess, right? Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's half right, sometimes it's completely wrong, right? Do not use the my progress function as the end all be all of whether you're going to graduate. Fun fact, I am the human being that is going to clear you to graduate, right? If I have the emails in my email account that says, hey, you've requested this course, Professor O'Connell has approved that course substitution, does not matter if it's showing up on Eagle service like that or not, right? Eagle service does not graduate you. I do, right? So do not fret about those my progress things, right? You can send me an email and you can request, hey, my progress looks a little funky. Is there any way you can clear that up? And I'll get to it when I can. But there's no way that I can keep all 160 My Progress functions up to date every semester, especially because students change classes in the middle of after 2 or 3 weeks. There's just no way I can do that, guys. I get a lot of messages like kind of looking at me like, why is this the way it's supposed to be? I have no control over the back end, right? My job is to clear you to graduate, and I don't really review any of that stuff until I clear you to graduate, right? So my point is, the handbook is here, the video is here, I am here, right? There are all these resources to help you figure this out. It's not a difficult program. It's 11 classes, right? It's not like undergrad. You don't have 40 classes that you have to take. It's 11 classes, right? And we are going to be flexible within reason. So do not send me emails freaking out about the My Progress function, because I'm pretty tired of getting those emails, okay? Just because it doesn't show up in My Progress does not mean it's not counting towards your degree, right? When you enter into your final semester and you apply to graduate, that's when the advisors go through and review your records like that, right? Until then, I have no reason to go in and do that. As long as you and I are having conversations, things are on track, you have the handbook, there's no reason to do that, okay? Again, it's a waste of time because it changes constantly. So if you want to send me an email and request that, again, I will do my best to facilitate getting everything lined up, but that's a pretty low priority for me, right? Again, because you have the handbook, you have me, you have a pretty good idea of where you stand, and you should, right? Okay, so we've covered the My Progress thing. Do not use that, right? Use this handbook, use me, right? Whatever you need. But again, it's 11 classes. They slot in here pretty easily and make a lot of sense, but I'm happy to help clarify those things if you have questions, okay? So there we've talked about that. We talked about the My Progress function. We talked about the course substitution procedure, right? Now I want to get to the schedule of classes. So lots of ways to check the schedule of classes, but right now I have it where I just Google it, right? That's the easiest way for me. So I've Googled AU schedule of classes. First hit right here is the registrar's website. Click on that. It's going to take me here. Click on this blue browse schedule of classes, right? There are kind of two ways to search for things. You can search for courses directly here. So like I could look for JLC 680 if I want to, and it's going to bring up 680 at the very top and it'll show me those available sections, right? There's only one right here in the spring. This does not, I'm recording this video before the summer and fall schedules have been released. So this is only the spring schedules, but the concepts that I'm going to go over here are going to apply in the summer and fall, right? Even if the class names and things might be different. Okay, so two ways to search for classes. Like the first way we just saw, we're just directly by name. So, if you know you want to take an SIS 619 course, 619, boom, you can easily search that and see all the available sections, right? Okay, now back to the course catalog. The way that most of you are probably going to search for courses is by term, right? So you're going to here to select term, which for you is going to be either summer or fall, but those aren't up yet. So we're just going to look at spring right now. Subject for us, it's justice law and criminology. But if you wanted to look into communication classes, it's right there. If you wanted to look at data science classes, they're right there. If you wanted to look at, where's SIS is under international service because it's the School of International Service. So even though we call it SIS, it's in here as IS. What else? What's another one? Oh, public administration. It's right down here, right? And you can search multiple departments at the same time. So you could search JLC, PUAD, and SIS all at the same time, right? But for now, we're just going to look at JLC. So spring, JLC. You can, if let's say you work Tuesday and Wednesday nights, you can't take classes on those nights. Days of the week, okay? Sunday, Thursday, Friday. Those are courses you're looking for classes on those nights. So this is a good way if you know you can't come on a certain night or day, you can block out and just exclude those courses from your search, okay? Don't worry about location. The only other thing I look at here is academic level, and I go to graduate. That way you can sift through and exclude all the undergraduate courses because there's a lot of them. So again, spring or whatever the semester is, department that you're looking at, and then graduate for the level, and click search. Okay, so this is the list of spring classes. Again, most of these are pretty straightforward. It'll tell you the number of seats available here, instructor here, time and date here, all that good stuff. Additional details are here. If you like hover over the top of it, it says show section details, right? You can click on that and it'll bring this up. So the reason I bring this up is because of this. So like JLC 621, it's an online class, online only, online program class. So like there are a few online classes for the in-person program, but they're very few. A lot of the online classes that are listed are restricted to the online program for the JLC, or for mostly THSP related classes, terrorism stuff. So the way to double check this, right, it says asynchronous online only, but the way to double check this is to click over the section details and go down to where it says additional information. If it says instructional method online and that's it, then it's available to you. But if it says instructional method online restriction, counterterrorism and homeland security, MS, that means it's restricted to the online only program, right? There are no exceptions to those restrictions. That's a very, very hard firewall between the two programs because they operate differently. Okay, so there are a lot of these online CTHS classes that are going to be listed on the schedule. And again, something else is going to be totally full, and this will have 15 seats available. And you say, wow, that looks great. I'd love to take that class. Well, you can't because it's restricted, right? So be aware of that. And when you're looking through things, you're going to want to check, does this have a restriction? And again, if it's online, it'll typically say that, or versus in person. So like, you know, here's an in-person. I know what 696 down here at the bottom is an online for us. So like Jim Burrell's class, this Tech Fundamentals for Policymakers, this is open to us, but it's an online class. So you see no space needed, live online only. And then when I click on this down here, additional information, instructional method online, right? But it doesn't say restriction, counterterrorism, homeland security policy. So boom, so this is an online course that's available to you, right? So that's how you check that. All the practicums, which are listed, what, 694, 695, will require permission. Just email me for permission to register for those. It says instructor permission, but we don't do that anymore. Just email me and I'll grant permission for you to join the class. The other thing I wanted to point out, so a lot of people want to take public administration classes, which is great. In theory, I would love for you to take those classes. However, the public administration program is playing hardball with us, and they have restricted pretty much all of their classes. They did that this semester for the fall or for the spring. I don't know if they're doing it for the fall or not, but I would assume they are. So we're just going to plan that's going to be the case. So like 604, for example, right? I bring this up because this has a prerequisite here, PUAD 602. So not only does it have a prereq, but then here, let me look at PUAD 603. Okay, so this one does not have a prereq. So in theory, you could take this course, right? It's even listed on our list. The problem is that this is restricted, right? Additional information, restriction, public administration, or public policy. I don't know why they did that. I think it's because they had a lot of new students and they didn't want our students taking up seats in their program. There it is. I was able to get a few students into those classes, but not all of the ones that wanted to get in. So I just wanted to point that out, that public administration classes, a lot of them had restrictions on them, and then some of them have prereq requirements. And then some of them have restrictions and prereq requirements on the same class. So you just have to be really careful when you're looking through the public administration classes. One of my favorite public administration classes, if you can get into it, is project management, because I think it's highly applicable to what we do, both in JLC and THSP. You know, you can take these skills and they're easily transferable. So again, I don't know. Yeah, instructional method online. This one's restricted. Like I said, they restricted like all their classes. So I don't know if there are going to be non-restricted sections in the next semester or not. But if there are, you'll want to look for it. So like here, they have 3 or 4, 5 sections listed. Looks like 2 of them are for their online only program, but the other 3 here, let's take a look. So this one has a restriction on it. This one has a restriction on it. And this one has a restriction on it. Okay, so like, I think it was 603. There were 2 sections that were restricted and 1 that wasn't. So they did have 1 section that was not restricted, filled really quick. So my point is, I don't know. They don't tell me this stuff. It's like the worst communication ever, right? They don't tell me what's going to be available or what's going to be restricted. So you have to figure that out for yourself. So again, one of the reasons I'm recording this video is so that you can find that information. You don't have to come to me and say, I want to take this class, but I can't, because it's restricted, right? And if that's the case, then you need to email me and say, hey, can we talk can I request permission to enter this program? Just be aware that there's no guarantee that's going to happen. In the past, this hasn't been an issue, but this semester moving forward, it's become an issue. So anyway, I will do my best, as always, to get you the classes that you want to get into, but please be aware there are structural and institutional firewalls in place that sometimes make that difficult, right? Even if I want to get you in that class and want to help you, not everybody on campus wants to facilitate student needs the same way, okay? So just be aware of that. I think that's pretty much, those are all the big things I really wanted to go over, right? So when you're searching through the schedule of classes, you should be able to make sense of what's going on and what's available. You've got the handbook. I sent that along with the link to this video, so you've got that to look at. And then I also have I included my scheduling link, right? So again, just keep in mind, if you don't need to schedule an appointment with me, don't, right? Send me an email, say, hey, I've got 2 quick questions. What's up with this and what's up with it, right? Fine, I can answer that, get that to you a lot more quickly than setting up a meeting, setting that aside, getting on the phone, yada, yada. There's just gonna be so much of that over the next couple of weeks. Now, if you do wanna meet with me, that's fine. I don't wanna like chastise you, just make sure that it's something you really need to meet about. And then there are also things like, well, is it registration related? Because if it's not, if it's like you can register for classes like normal and we can meet in like, you know, later in March or April, fine, great. I'll have a lot more time towards the end of April and beginning of May when things cool down. So if you want to meet then, I'll have a lot more flexibility. But for the kind of from like March 1st basically through like mid-April, right? Just be as considerate of what's going on my end as you can, because it might be difficult to find scheduled times, right? And all these other things. So that's why if you can empower yourself to register, awesome. If you can do it yourself and just send me an email with a couple questions, awesome. And if you need to meet with me and there's just no other way to do it, awesome. We'll do that too, right? Just I'm trying to kind of move things in a direction where we have a good relationship, but you're not maybe as reliant on me for everything, right, as in the past, right? So I'm here to assist, I'm here to advise, but I am not like the person that's in charge of your educational development. That's you. You're in the driver's seat. I'm the passenger with the map who's like trying to help you get where you need to go. Okay. All right, that's everything. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you again for being in the program as always. It's good to see many of you that I've seen over the last couple of weeks, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you over the next couple of weeks and couple of months. Enjoy the spring. Best of luck with registration, and I will talk to you all later on. Thanks so much for watching.